pro players, taking the gold tack over the blue pump, even when it needed most. Players needed it the most, right? You needed that one pump. People were still opting to rock out with the gold tack.
Yeah, the meta for a lot of players and the way they play and take peaks, they use the combat for so much time of the season. They're used to having more bullets to send through. They're used to having,
the fire rate.
Yeah, the fire rate as well, right? It's just the biggest thing they're not used to and they have to kind of adjust to is the pull-out time of that gold and purple tack, because it is slower than all the other shotguns available right now in the loot pool.
Here's Zanzis. So they're going to use hoverboards to get away from the trio that's to the left, or maybe they didn't even realize they're actually firing off in the distance there. So little do they know, someone is already up close and personal, but there it is. The sound cue is given off, and he's actually spotted by Zephyr, who's got the perfect pinch on this player, and Zanzis, who's got the nice range as well with the explodes here. Shield Bubble is going to isolate this player from Zephyr, and Zephyr loses the 1v1.
Shield Bubble absolutely isolates. The big thing about this side of the map, too, is how spread out and isolated you are from the get-go. So much of a split is going on just for looting purposes that when a fight starts, you have to act quick to get back to your team. Fast builds from Zanzis, though. Shockwaves coming through. Still a block off. The tack shots not missing a single one out of 8 in his clip. Zanzis is on point right now. Metal's not going to stop his beam from coming through into your box. A two-way split on pressure on the box as well. I hear a minigun in there too, Monster. This is insane.
It's going down right now. He's not missing any shots. Happy that you noted that, because there's knock players everywhere. Wisa goes down. Normally when it's me and I got a tack shotgun, I have a million excuses to figure out why I'm not, landing or damaging. But it doesn't matter. Zanz is showing that you can hit your shots, you're gonna win your fights. And that's exactly how this battle has turned around, because Zephyr was the first to get traded out. So as a 2v3 situation, they're doing so good. Invoke's gonna fall down now as well, which means that last player is very weak, because Zanz has already got 2 knocks here. So let's see how he goes to execute and kind of seal the deal here. So he walks right around, and there he goes. He catches Invoke.
Absolutely no hesitation at all to use any type of utility. Not a certain pattern we usually see. People are more safe and scarce with what they want to use in a fight, especially this early. Mid-game, I understand, throw your 6 stinks. But this Sans has just used, I think, upwards of his entire rocket clip with what the GL came with as well. And the minigun ammo, no care for it at all. I think we just dropped down from like 600 to 200.
Hey,
Still reaping the benefits.
You know what they say? If you can't take it with you back to the lobby, so you might as well throw it out there, because the worst thing is to get taken out of a game and be like, man, I still had those splashes. I knew I should have padded right there, right? Or, kind of have those regrets. So, good on them to kind of throw it all at the wall when it mattered, because their teammate got taken out first. Zephyr lost. So you might as well throw everything to really take the tide and take take the bull by the horns in that situation, I should say. But taking a look at the other side of the map, we have Eska, Toggle, Seagull on the run here from a team behind them. They put some pressure on squads kind of floating around, launch padding above.
And when the zone gets pulled down from this angle, on the entire map, this bone spot, the whole Sakura flower field, is a very interesting place where a lot of trios actually converge. A lot of the POIs on that side of the map usually don't waste too much time actually getting bricked from, but if you have that mentality because you just want to go and farm the teeth, every other trio has that mentality as well. There's so much brick available, as you can see, on the lake, on the actual rock behind you guys, the whole skull. But the big issue is if every trio is thinking that way, this is what ends up happening. A huge fight that blows out, stinks being thrown, a lot of utility being used, including defensive utility like campfires and bubble shields, will have a lot of engagements that you probably don't want to take just because you're on the same page as some other trios in the early game.
And those are some amazing stinks right there to really put the pressure on these players down here. But there's someone in Tilted Town who's actually firing back. There's another squad on the mountain just to the side of that as well. So suddenly what looked like a free push and a free takeout on the squad here in the river, it's now turned into a really odd situation because they're surrounded by multiple players. RSG Spirit tries to skate away there on the hoverboard. He's going to get picked off immediately by this trio right now. They say, you know what? We caught a freebie over here. Let's go back. Let's get that loot and forget these guys on the river. They'll live to see another day for now.
Yeah, big cost to their resources, though. A lot of, I think, would ultimately just expend it to push that fight. Easily farmable up once again, but we did see so many trios rotating through here. Will there actually be much left at the moment, or will they have to get it on the fly moving forward as well? These guys seem to not stop. It just toggles on 24/7. fights are on all the time. Not sure why there's just it's a 2-box kind of defensive base right now, but the less boxes you have, the more opportunity for a big pop-off moment. Spirit getting released all the way to that knockdown state. It's a box wall-to-wall fight right now. It's going to be that 50-50 engagement. Big Elam coming out of Toggle.
You gotta show some respect for Toggle shots right there, flicking at the light and the slightest pixel that moved in front of him. He did not miss a shot, hitting 3 flush pump shots right there, and a flawless edit as well on the player that was just picked up. So Spirit got knocked, he got saved, he got put right back down in the dirt, and then Toggle follows up with the other. Now hopping on over to Shifty Shafts. Looks like we have, we saw Sid Dig, we saw MSI Dig and Rampage have a great last game. They're just outside of the Shifty here, and there's another trio nearby.
Amazing. We're going to be looking at Shifty now, one big place to actually get reformable mats in. The biggest part about this, you talked about the whole skull earlier for Brick. A lot of teams do rotate the Shifty for that metal, as once again, on this kind of middle side of the map, especially coming out of Tilted Town, yes, you have an increased plethora of mats available from chests, but to knock off and top off all your metal, you do have to rotate and find a lot with other trios as well. So a dope pattern we're seeing in this mid game is a lot of Middle Eastern trios on the same page, moving forward, backwards, and all around the map, knowing the exact power, POI, and farm spots mid game as well, as we see a care package coming down from the top.
That's right, and ladies and gentlemen, we are here. It's Shio Wager, Monster D-Face. We're looking at the Middle East region. We're taking a look at these heats, these games that are unfolding here. A region that we have not covered much of. This is actually, if anything, their debut to the Fortnite main stage here. So to see these players performing under pressure right now, we're looking at our future stars, future names that, will show up for the next World Cup for all we know, right?
Yeah, the scene can only develop more and more and more. They can only review more and play more, which means they'll only get better, and we'll see even greater and bigger things. One big thing I've been seeing these guys utilize mid-game and very early on as well, I want to ask you a question, Monster. What do you think about the uses of shield bubbles mid and end game? When should they be used? How do you manage just having 2 in an inventory?
Yeah, from what I've seen, the shield bubble is obviously one of the most, effective tools to canceling out fire coming in on you when you become the focus point of a server, but more importantly, the perfect way to isolate a team when you decide, hey, we want to pounce on this target as well, so that no one can kind of interrupt or interfere with your battle as well. So the shield bubble is just such a flexible item, and there is no perfect time to use it, because we've seen it used to also just like clog up lanes for fire, right? Or the way these guys have come up with these innovative methods to stick it to yourself when you're on a bush or in a vehicle per se. So the shield bubble has been a great addition to Fortnite. It makes me miss, honestly, the flint knock, because the flint knock is another great addition, right?
Yeah, it's a versatile item that you can use offensively and defensively at a click of a button, right? The instant actual effect comes there. At the moment now, still more disrespect and momentum. Rampage is causing a scene in every single fight he's a part of. It's great that these guys have such a good spirit when they're playing the game. They're always on point. It seems like they're just having a lot of fun playing these matches, even though we can't hear the comms.
Yeah, I mean, Rampage is really cranking right here. He got that quick knock, it came right back up to high ground, and they're just suddenly resetting for the battle here. But someone's going to get dropped. It's Dig who fell behind, and now this trio is on their back foot here, as someone is looking to dive on them. We're not quite sure who it is that's pressuring them right now, but the fire is coming in from all types of ways. Out comes the poison. Okay, so it's VND and their crew up top on the high ground, really just putting pressure in. Storm keeping them out here. They do manage to get that revive off, and that's one of the perks of trio, right? Trio competitions. One player can save, one can play defense, and we see this executed time and time again. It's not like that in any other game mode, only in trios.
There's so many things as well as just being part of trios. You got that whole 5 more items you can carry as well. You have a whole new role. I remember Bala saying that, when chunk splashes were being introduced and trios were like a concept game mode, you could have just a role of an actual healer in the game. And we see that, the clutch player is usually the one that carries the shockwaves and the RPGs. The support player is usually the one carrying those long-range chunk splashes, the brute force kind of pick-me-up items of the trio, whether it's medkits or extra shields. So it's dope to see that when you have more player slots available, you can dive deep into these roles in your trio.
All right, so this trio here, sitting on the riverbed in a really odd spot. You never want to be in this low ground underneath the mountain at the mercy of all the teams around you. They do have a launch pad, though, and they have a long rotation to make here, so looks like they say, you know what, if we go in the air, we're probably going to get hit out the sky. let's try our best, right? Go on foot, try our luck here. They attempted a freebie rotation, and Dig gets punished with a big sniper shot, but it's okay. He's going to be able to heal up and bounce back, and you know, it was worth it, I guess. They got close enough. They made it to the zone. They didn't really expend all their materials, right? The best of the best teams know how to rotate for free, if you want to call it that, and take the risk to get to where they need to be without wasting material.
Yep, one thing, the kind of relationship towards mid-game and end-game rotations in terms of the resources you have, I think, are materials versus shields.
Yeah.
So if you have more shields, you can't take the risk to take and get shots to your HP pool to save those mats, drink those shields up, and then just go for Siphon endgame, because it's a lot easier to get it there than to do a big mid-game fight. And me saying that, though,
look at this setup. Look at this setup.
Like
Rampage goes underneath their build there, looking for the knockdown to see if they can, you know, sweep someone out from underneath their base. They just are not slowing down the momentum from one place to another. They're bringing the battle to anyone nearby. They're hungry to capitalize on the resources and materials here. That was a heavy sniper right there. You have two players holding down the turbo build, trying to see if they can, you know, keep control of the wall there. Dig makes the reload on the heavy snipe, so any bust, he can make any wall bust that he wants right now. There it is. He opens up another, takes that one right there, makes a quick edit. Can he connect with the shot? He does. He catches one player, but eats a splode from a grenade launcher from somewhere nearby.
The Siphon comes in, though, keeping him healthy. He's going to keep going forward. One decision he made there is not to put that stair in, but to get the damage off first, which proved good for him. At the same time, he did take a shotgun shot back, as well as an explosive, since he didn't own the stair, and it did get edited the moment that Splode came in. Now we're switching back over to defense. They did get a few mats off that Siphon, his teammates at least. Now he has enough time to actually take over this whole base. They fill up their loaded slots as well with more things, such as shockwaves and a minigun potentially if they want to take it through as well. And they'll top off on the shields they used when they actually rotated in, using them instead of the mask. We talked about that earlier as well.
Yeah, now looking to retreat back to the metal carcass that they left behind. Remember, metal takes, you know, multiple shots of explodes to kind of break open. They actually find a trio nearby. It's going to be a huge pump shot for 104 now, and they're using the side pinch here. And no, another team comes through. He's going to hit the big pump. He's not missing, but it's just not enough to close the deal here. Rampage is left by himself, but I'm sure the comms are, you know, giving out. They're weak. They're definitely weak. Let's see if Rampage can pull it together here. He has 13 minis in the loadout here, and he is going to find... Yeah, there it is. He's got to switch up the loadout here just a bit. Can he get his heals off, though? Can he get the medium bullets? No, he's actually only has 5 mediums in the legendary, or in the epic AR here.
Yeah, one thing I was going to notice, even if he does survive, what can he actually do? He kind of just has to stay in boxes, zone to zone, shockwave, and hope to get into someone's box or wreck another trio's game to get back in and online. Because right now, I'm counting him completely out of the running against all these big other trios. You see Namfu right above him and VND below him as well.
That was a worst-case scenario, too. When you hear that team chug splash going off, when you're like, ooh, that was ours. They caught our boy. They're using our resource. They're all healthy now. You know they're healthy. So that's not a battle he can take. So the VND boys managed to topple the team right there, the Rampage crew, and now make a big rotation here, and they get away with it. They get away with a beautiful launch pad, leading them right into this Storm Wave 6, where we'll get our first moving zone. So we have a nice little stink grenade right there. It's going to put some pressure up, but this trio is so split now.
Now, one thing the big note as well is that these guys are on point with using the proper mats at the proper times. At the moment, they're boxed up before a moving zone. This is where you want no interruptions on your game plan. You don't want your base to get shaken. You don't want any disturbances possible. So you're using those hard mats to make sure you're not focused. Because no one's going to pop in 3 AR mags of a SCAR to break open exactly where your box is, right? So this is very smart for them to just kind of have a little bit of premeditated planning. Then using wood later on. They're almost topped up on every mat as well, which is very, very smart from these VND boys. As you said, you know, we talked about it earlier, I love having rainbow loadouts. And right now they have every color on the spectrum available. Shockwaves, miniguns, the silent SCAR, and a bunch of heals that get split over. A very cool thing Hater did right there is dropping that big pot over to his teammate. You never know what happens on rotation. One person might go down. It's good to have loot sparsely kind of allocated between everyone so everyone has that clutch moment chance.
Double minigun is going to start cooking here as they have a player on the run. It's going to be Weil who gets taken out of his the screams right there. Unfortunately, in comes a shockwave, and Hadar finds himself in the zone right now. At the cost, of course, of a lot of HP, but there it is. That Elim is converted. Dreamwild falls down. And now Haydar's just got to eat some zone. He's trying to crank his way up this mountain. Such a weird spot to be in. There's a player right underneath him. I wonder if he's going to turn around and try and catch this free pick right here. No, he's just more worried about defense. There it is. Little offensive play right there. Can he connect? No, he's going to get taken out. Gets dropped real quick. Now hopping over to Zanzis, Zephyr, and others. You can see just from a nice aerial view of the rotation these players have to make, the struggle that they have going up and over the mountain, and now through what might be the best terrain right here. It's kind of flat. This is where you want to be.
This is where you want to be if you're on the front side of that zone. But anyone at the back on the blue line, once people get based up and realize once Fahad is done drinking these shields, they're going to look straight back for all those elims to come pouring and funneling through. So yes, it's amazing to have flat land if you are in that advantageous position.
FHD does pop the launch pad right there, and out they go floating. Kind of an early launch pad as well, just to go and battle for the high ground. So this is that zone wave 6 we talk about, going for the high ground nice and early here. He's cooking that minigun right now, trying to see what he can do. Little does you know, there is another team up high. There it is. This player has been spotted, melts him right out the sky. Wild Gamer here goes straight down, and the high ground is the power trios. Once again here, the minigun's just the perfect situation. They are just chopping players down. This is just too easy for him at this point.
Yeah, but split solo as well. He doesn't have to worry about his teammates getting in the way at all. It's free reign for Fahad right now. Even if he does get knocked down due to low mats, it's the only thing I can see that can stop his reign right now. But his teammates can cover that as well. He's going to keep minigunning down. The shockwave is the perfect thing for him too. Getting people down to white tags, has the shotgun to switch. He actually bit off more than he could chew. Fahad goes down. These guys still have so many elims right now. 6 with more to come. The zone is just flipping back. Looks like they have an advantage to hold back the whole zone from height as well on hard mats. Shockwaves are the only thing that can stop them from this position.
And the reason it really works out for them, minigun, high ground, in this situation specifically, is because it went right over low terrain. Everything dipped, so everyone's floating on weak builds, weak wood. When the minigun comes chopping, it's taking all that resource, all that material with it. And all these players were just thrown down to the low ground. It's hard to defend at that point because you have to block what's coming up from above. You have to protect your floor plank below you. You can see there, he's going to actually use a shockwave. That's actually really odd. He throws a player out to the zone. You see for a second there, the lining did show someone in the storm, so it was successful. And there it is. Someone goes down, but Yogg's still at it. He's looking for the shotgun shot right here. And they're just going to win. They're just going to hold players out. I guess the shockwaves kicking them to the zone was worth. It kind of all went in their favor, huh?
Yeah, it was a very unique ending right there, very casual. They straight up started doing weird edits on height at the end. Absolutely no respect. We're going to be throwing it over to Sundown to break down more of what we saw in this heat and more. Sundown, what you got?
What I got is some more highlights from the early and mid, and then a great display of the power trio holding the high ground and kind of putting what I said a little bit to shame in the last analysis. They were able to stick together as a duo and run out the rest of the lobby, showing that teamwork and the prevalence and the ability to dominate. So very well played from them. Let's hop on in and see what went down in the match. So first, again, we're hopping on board with Toggle and his trio as they're able to get a knock and then put a great amount of pressure onto them, stealing the wall on the other side, seeing the chug splashes go down, and just going to work. Boom, knock right there, gets the conversion, and they're able to then find the other opponent inside the shield bubble and reap all of the rewards from that. Now on board with the alter ego crew, who is able to find a pinch and then get the knock and seeing the teamwork. So now we'll see it from the other perspective, just the amount of pressure they're putting on, constantly pickaxing, trying to take the wall and trying to not allow the opponents to get away. This is the early aggression that's disciplined through, and you can see Dennis Smith being able to catch the opponent out there. Nasir going down, stuck between a rock and a hard place on the side of the wall, and again, just putting these rifles to work on the backside of the storm and catching people in unfavorable positions. Now you can see Mev picking up Lin there and able to avoid the trap. And this is a great rotation coming out from Moon as he's able to land right on the side of the bubble shield, box himself up, and catch a quick edit. You barely even saw him take that shot out, but now he's able to track down and get the loot from that to put his team in a great position. But now on board with the power trio as they just run out the high ground. And I mean, just watch here. Like, his ability to track Jiren there, constantly checking his angles, and they were, again, never threatened. We talk about high ground control and being able to work top down and converting it into eliminations. There was a reason these guys were on top in this heat, and it was their ability to execute and finish in the end games. That is back-to-back victory royales running out from the power trio. And again, there's a reason they ran Heat 1. But now we're going to continue with our Middle East coverage. I'm going to hop into the casting booth, and joining me will be the fantastic, as Zeke said, amazing, individual, award-winning Dr. Lupo.
I don't know about all that, but I appreciate it. Thank you, Sundown. We have one game left from Heat 1 in the Middle East, and man, it is coming down to the wire. A lot of really crazy plays, and you were taking a look at everything that we've seen thus far from that last match. The pace at which these players are playing, I think, we've said it before. A number of us have mentioned it. Now that the Middle East has a more localized server to connect to, the level of play is really showing that even they can keep up. So going into potentially the next World Cup, if that's something that's in the future for them, it's going to be interesting to see yet another player base added to the pool of players that play for that. So.
I know, I enjoyed a lot seeing players coming out from India, Saudi Arabia, from Southeast Asia. They're all over the place, but the games are ready, so let's hop onto the battle bus and drop on in to continue our coverage of the Middle East. And again, apologies in terms of those who wanted to watch the European action. We're intending on watching that. Heat 1 did get moved to tomorrow during the same time as Heat 4, but I will also say I've really enjoyed getting an extended look. It's not a lot of times. I know during the World Cup coverage we did go back and watch some of the Asia and Oceania replays, but we don't often get to do a deep dive into some of these other regions. So I'm really enjoying it as someone who tends to go back and watch a lot of the server replays just on my own. Getting to explain this and kind of show off these gameplay, it's really enjoyable to me.
Believe me, I understand people want to see their favorites and things like that, and we will get to all those players, time permitting. You have to realize, though, this being Middle East's first opportunity to play in a competitive event like this, it is big for everybody involved.
And if you see in the top left right away, Klops and Fiesel full elimed off the bat. And that was the thing I talked about. They did end up making it through to the grand final tomorrow, but they struggled a little bit, to be honest. Everyone, again, I was the only one who picked against them. But I will say, it's still not tomorrow yet. They're there, which is all that ends up mattering. But they didn't seem anywhere near as dominant as they were before. And you can tell right off the bat, them getting contested, game in and game out, that's the second time we've seen them be the first trio eliminated from a match.
One at a time here at Kid Falcon. Spammy and Mad Clown picking up a set of eliminations on this trio. One after another, they fall, and we're at 3 points already. 16 total for this team.
And that's really just tends to be a case of when you lose the quick gun races at the start. Sometimes it's just unfortunate it doesn't go your way. Like you think, oh yeah, like I got attacked, that's great. But if 3 other people have rifles and you're out in the open, like no way you've gotten more than, what, 30, 60 mats tops? Yeah. Like they'll burn through that real quick. So it's just situationally getting the right gear at the start and then finding ways to either avoid or take the fight. But the GE boys cleaning that one up there.
Good pickup here, too. They own the remainder of Shifty Shafts. Meanwhile, up on top of the floating island, Aga, Igami, is hanging out, farming through everything that they can up here. Not easy to jump off just yet, although it is a slightly... It's a tough spot, I'm just going to say, because they're up above the block, so you have a chance to take shots down and contest one of the most competitive drop spots, typically, because the way that the block is designed, it's player-based, so from time to time, when it changes, it's almost a toss-up whether or not it's going to be good or bad. And right now, a number of teams across, I think, every region are planning on dropping block. I've seen things on Twitter even going so far as DMs to say, hey, you dropping block, and admitting very clearly that it's going to be a contested drop for some of the more competitive players. So up here on top of the floating island, they have a chance to look down from above and take some shots. I don't think it's going to happen, though, because you don't want to give away your position. Even early game, if you ask to get shot at, by doing so, it's going to cause a problem. They do have a mech here, low light, bouncing around. Yaga might jump in with and continue this rotation. The third player still up on top of the block. Yagami's still up there. They have the tornado into the block. They have an opportunity to rotate off of that. Basically a free launch pad. Nope, pressure time it is. Engaging and pushing forward. Rockets out from the mech. The Brute, 2 trios inside here at the block. it would not surprise me if all 6 of these players, given the chance, just turn and beam this thing into the ground.
Yeah, I mean, generally what you see in the trios format in particular, and even in solos, if there's a mech in play, everyone's like, no, you don't get that advantage.
It needs to go right now.
But right out away, you can see that's 2 different 50 shield tags going through, and they're getting aggro, even getting close enough to try and get some stomps, and the shotgun damage is ours gets picked up by that, and that is just a brutal way to go down. And unfortunately, these teams are being engaged by it, and it seems to be this is one of the times. So mechs in trios, like I know there's a lot of people who are against it. There weren't a ton of times where they were like very overwhelming. This is one of them. This is when you can get them in high ground in the late game and have them be protected. And I'm talking about at the highest level. I'm not saying that, like, yes, people can't run around and it gives you a massive advantage, because we've all been subject to this and it's not fun. With that being said, at the absolute highest level, normally you see the players able to find ways around it. But if you're already engaged in a fight and a brute ends up walking out, good luck. Like, you're not, what are you going to do? Stop fighting the people who are immediately against you? No, because they're not going to stop fighting. It's basically just you're stuck with no good choices in that circumstance. Or some of the end game clips, I know Elocrats and Thomas did it in the late game, but they got 2 brutes up on the high ground where everyone else was just boxed up and had to worry about transition, and then they pulled zone. And it's just like, you don't play against that. Good luck.
4 eliminations. Lowlight, Gaga, Yagami now technically have both the island and the block. They pushed the remaining player. I believe just one made it away on rotation out to the southwest there. So they essentially picked up 2 solid POIs with 1 mech, just because, especially this block, you had all 6 players were based inside that structure in the middle. So a lot of the line of sight to take shots at this mech, it was already blocked, which gave them the chance to just push in, start stomping, dropping shotgun shots and the rockets out as often as they can. A big swing. These guys are already in a great spot.
Yep, and now you get the rotational tool as well. They didn't even lose a ton of damage on the mechs, and it's kind of one of those things where you talk about the inherent weaknesses of it. While there are some, we're effectively covered in this engagement. There was absolutely no way the brute was not walking away from that successful, simply because the few opportunities that would have been there, the only way they could have possibly maybe have gotten out of it is if one of those people had decided or landed on a boogie bomb.
Exactly.
So it's like that is your only chance in that circumstance. Otherwise, you're just out, and effectively, you're out, you're gone, 4 over. And the block, the reason why it's so contested, there is always a very dense amount of ammunition, loot, and materials. You will always be able to get maxed out 1,500 per player, and you'll be leaving there with enough ammunition to where you aren't going to be scared to harass people in the mid game, which in competitive trios is huge, which is why you see a number of people there. Now, getting the fortune of the fact that Kevin was directly above the block, and then a brute lands right next to him. I mean, that is just praying to RNGesus and taking every advantage of it.
The stars certainly aligned, but they took, like you said, they took big advantage of the situation. Ended up coming out there with 4 eliminations and basically everything else that they could need up to that point. I think there was a heavy snipe, which we see here sit up the top of Viking Village, taking a shot there. Can't quite connect. 2 players, I believe Rampage is also with him up top there. The third, not even seeing on the minimap. Just there we go, right on the screen right there, far north. Rotating across, still taking shots. These guys aren't going to challenge. You have a chance to maybe land a big hit from up here.
That's not a Dr. Lupo snipe. You hit those.
Imagine a knock from this distance. They might not be able to capitalize on it, but you're going to slow that team down. Somebody's got to go back, try and pick up the revive. Meanwhile, this trio will rotate in and get ahead, well, just like this, try and get inside the safe zone, and they can stormhold at this point.
Yeah, you have to be so absurdly careful when doing that off the edge of the mountains. You want to avoid trees there at absolutely all costs, because if you clip a tree and
suddenly
lose your fall immunity, I mean, that is some of the worst. So I'm going to go like all the way back, right? PAX West, the very first time we actually did an event, we were going through, we were doing the tech testing, and we had like all the observers. I was like, hey, I'm going to do really well in this test. We'll make sure like everyone is watching me, all that. So we get it all lined up so everything is going. I'm flying into Tilted right away. I see a number of people there, really excited. I clipped a tree right when I was going, lost my immunity, fell down. Very first person eliminated from the match. We had to actually scramble all of the tech and the tests we were doing to then look at somebody else. I had to explain to everyone why I was the first one that was out. So that was fun, but avoiding that, I know Ninja was a big fan of that tree as well a number of times. So
I feel as though a number of players have shared that similar experience, Tim the Tatman especially. Meanwhile, pushing forward here, you have 2 players from a trio to the north already at that gas station. One is separated, which means if these three do run into them, I would not be surprised if aggression happens, especially a leadoff shot with that heavy snipe. A knock here on either one of those players. Abdullah all the way in the back. Nadia and Nasir still there, separated.
And one thing about Siddig, M-Siddig, and Rampage, they were in the highlight video from Week 5. They qualified through the automatic qualification, and they actually dropped me a DM saying, hey, watch out for us. We feel like we've been playing very good. Like, give us a shout-out, because I promise we'll be there. Sitting on 61 points right now in the 6th game. They were in that top rank. Like, looks like we're going to be seeing them in the grand finals, and now hitting that snipe and being the aggressors here in the mid-game. But notice how there is a team coming up behind them, and they're only covering one direction right now.
They're looking right now. You see the arrows in your mini-map down there. They're kind of jumping and rotating and checking to the left. They want to see if at some point there's a chance to find a shot. They'll eliminate the knockdown there. Pushing forward. It looks like a little bit of a weapon swap issue. Desk pop with that sniper rifle. Meanwhile, they are building up the explodes to try and drop any of the material that they can. Get inside the box, take the ramp, go for the swap, find the shotty shot, and can't quite connect. Sitting down to 92 HP, a little bit of a panic. The splashes right now might be the key, especially if you have a teammate nearby. Pick that up, get the siphon off of it. 90 eliminated. It is now an outnumbered situation here. Secure the walls and make sure you own every piece of the structure. Yeah, right here. Stack up, splash it. Gonna happen? Maybe, maybe not. Waiting for it.
Okay, no, no, use the full instead first.
There we go.
Make sure you get every little bit of it. They want to maximize their efficiency. They did have the other player knocked and they haven't quite converted on it, so they should know that player is looking for the revive. They're trying to find him right now and building up for the height advantage, but they're kind of opt to knock it down. I think you should probably just try and chase and find it.
The shockwave a second ago, I believe, was from the opponent trying to take that ultimate high ground. M-Siddig still going for the knockdown on the structure here. We'll see. Yep, Abdullah all the way up top right now. Trying to rotate away, it looks like.
I think the conversion just went over for that Elim as well. He got knocked and did take full damage and then will get the convert over right after the other one. So that's another 3 Elims going up to them, pushing them to 64 points, but 24 trios still remaining.
The wall right at their back. You've got players flying across in front, the launch pad. This is kind of an interesting rotation. You have that trio basically separated from each other at this point. A player landing all the way on the north side next to that hill. You see him ducking around the outside now, making their way to the east to try and get inside the safe zone. And they do so. All inside now.
Oh, yeah, they're on driftboards. Okay, I was trying to figure out, like, how they came flying through right there, but able to get a couple shots. I mean, that can be very scary, rounding in front of a trio who is ready to take shots at you on a driftboard, but as long as you're able to clear enough space, people will generally trade shield tags for having a driftboard on the rotation, because more often than not in trios, somebody is carrying excess shields, just with kind of how the loophole is right now, which is I'm a huge fan of, and the fact that trios really enables you to effectively always have at least 2 slots.
I think the competitive player base as a whole is very appreciative of the number of shield restoring mechanics in the game right now. 123 builds in the inventory, 24 trios still remain. We have a minute 15 until we make our way to the 4th circle. It's like a far northeast push from where we currently are, the safe zone in the bottom right corner of your screen there. Good at making moves. The marks basically communicating what may or may not be the best call. They're going to build up for just a second.
They've had pretty decently far storm rotations from them too, right? Like the zone hasn't been doing them a ton of favors, but meanwhile though, you remember that, I wonder how that mech team ended up doing, because everything ended up pulling towards north, so they should have just been set to be running wild, but haven't seen a ton from them.
Their best bet, their best bet at this point may be to take, if they still have the mech, find a hill, build up around it, and protect it for late game. And that might be exactly what we're looking at right there. Yeah, in fact, minimap that's the same color as the team earlier that was on the island and dropped down into the block. So they are still up there. I'm assuming still with, actually, there's no mech on the minimap, so it may be gone now. Moving forward here. 18 seconds until this circle starts to push. Team up on the hill, they're going to have to move soon. I'm assuming a launch pad of there's something up there. Otherwise, they're waiting maybe a little too long to make movements at this point.
Well, you can, as long as you're not on, like, the far side of that zone, you can outrun it, but that's just always terrifying. Like, even this, to me, is a scary rotation, because you look at the number of old builds that are there. Luckily, on the bottom of the map, you know, since you're marking the edge of the zone, there's only really, like, well, they don't know this, but we know that there's only one team who's realistic in between there. but passing all of these old builds is terrifying. You can see the Driftboard team on the purple coming in, as well as that other team who is on the high ground seems to be making a launch pad rotation since they are so high up and flying at a consistent speed. But as that circle is encroaching, expect Siddig, M-Siddig, and Rampage to run into a little bit. Oh, here they are, boxed up in the mech.
They do still have the mech.
Yep.
They do still have the mech inside the zone now. No reason to leave that just yet. Basically going to wait for an opportunity to drop some rockets. That's exactly what they're doing. The shield bubble enough to save that team over there, but it doesn't last forever. We'll have to see if they opt to take more shots in a second. Meanwhile, very aggressive push in the top left here, making their way inside, owning the box, and Monksy goes down. Elimination there, putting them at 4 total, 65 points right now. You have to remember, top 15 placement. So the placement points start to come into place. We still have a handful, 8 more teams, 8 more trios need to go down before that even becomes a thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so much so to get there. You can see Monksy was the solo pushing us into top 23 duos. So only 5 trios have actually dropped over the course. And it's 9th through 12th. We'll be getting that first round of placement points. 5th through 8th getting the next. 3rd and 4th will receive one. And then 2nd gets a bump. So honestly, to me, 2nd place, it feels like a little bit better in the trios format when you get there, but at the same time, it makes that final fight just that much more important. Always being a 4-point swing. Like, yeah, you get the bonus because you were in 2nd place, but you know it could have always been that much more. And right now, these guys have priority on the near side of the zone, but there's a number of teams who pulled slightly better into some great dinks right there. You can see the headshot go through, but not a full shield break, only getting the 62 and then an immediate cover from the teammate.
If you look at the next safe zone, too, a large portion of it is centered over the water, which, if you get caught out there, low builds or no builds, it's going to be like shooting fish in a barrel. The fact that you have to jump and hop slowly across the water, you don't run nearly as fast. You're basically exposed. It's going to be a tough spot if there's anybody over there. I would expect that northeast side and the west side are going to be completely chock full of teams. Players are going to try and avoid minus whoever that is on the bottom right, the southeast side of the next safe zone. They're just going to own that right now. There's no need to move too far. They're even on the slowest edge of the circle. They can just kind of wait and see who may make their way down the hills in towards this river.
So in particular, because this is zone 4, which means zone 5, the next one is going to be the half in, half out. Yep. So you don't want to be central on the next zone. When this one closes, you're banking on it being on the outside edge. If you're central, it's guaranteeing a short rotation, but that you have to move. If you're on the outside edge,
there's a chance.
Yeah, there's a chance that you pull zone and that you have a big opportunity to catch people in that rotation. Because going from far side there into the half and half is brutal if you don't have the correct amount of mobility, or it can even then just be bad because of sight lines. Like, we've seen people get beamed making regular launch pad rotations.
Now, to no one's surprise, the inventory of the power trio, specifically, we had Fahad up there for a second. I would assume everybody's inventory on this team is absolutely stacked. You've got pump shotguns basically all around. I saw I believe two launch pads in Fahad's inventory. An RPG yet again. This trio seems to pick up some of the best loot every single game, which will help them consistently climb to the top. Now, loot's not a guarantee. Don't take it the wrong way, but it absolutely does help when you're looking at players like this, NM7 as well, all 3 of them. No eliminations yet, but 71 points literally proves the last 5 games for this trio has been through the roof. They have been just destroying.
And they just pulled zone. Look at that bottom right-hand corner. You can see the 2 orange triangles and then that 1 white. They pull zone. They have the stinks. They have rockets. They have a minigun. They have every single part of an arsenal you can want. But right now they are being challenged. You can see trying to get the wall back right away because they know they're on edge of zone. Good rocket away. And Mansour catches that one with his teeth. There was another damage tick over as well. But Power able to catch himself before. And now you get more loot to work with. Those are excess builds. So what can you do? You're already in zone. Build up with that extra material, do the Tfue special, build up a massive tower, go back down, and then mark yourself back up. That's the second elim. We talked about it right there. We still have 7 more trios to drop before placement points end up coming through, but these elims are going to go all the way through.
4 more trios now. We're at 19. Look at it.
Top 12.
Sorry, it's top 12.
Yeah,
not top 15.
9 to 12. Yep. No, it's all good. It took me forever to get used to the new trios one because there was an extra like scoring threshold going through. So when I was like counting through and calculating, it always took me forever. But Toggle is somebody who's been impressing me a lot. He's been in like a number of our packages just as an individual player, making some great plays. So shout outs to him for again making it into the end game and has a pretty solid loadout. So expecting him to potentially make some more plays here as we hop on board.
It's funny, you mentioned the Tfue special earlier, literally sitting on, honestly, one of the most commonly seen weapons, I think, in Turner's inventory. That scoped AR, either that or an infantry, always sitting up top and taking shots. If Toggle can take high ground, put that thing to use. Right now, stuck down here, he and Eska basically in a box side by side to see if they can make their way up down to only a duo. Sigil eliminated earlier in this match. 69 builds, 2 shockwaves, which can come into play here in a second. We're going to see the next circle. Whoa. All the way south. We're looking at a push out basically into the water. Now, there were builds out there earlier from a team that was sitting in the water. So you know their structure. If they were paying attention, they know their structure as well. So you can imagine maybe a push at just the right time since they're they're near the front of this zone. They have a chance to get onto those builds ahead of other players, build up, and put that scope they are to use. That's what I want to see right here from Toggle, and we'll see if he can pull it off.
I think that's what he's going for, or he's looking for a quick cone peek right off the bat, knowing that the rest of the lobby has to rotate off of him. He might think it's safer to try and catch a quick pump as somebody goes through, but as I say that, he abandons the cone peek, goes over with his teammate, and you're probably going to see some shots coming out here and then a shockwave to try and take the high ground on those old builds, as you said.
A long-range TAC SMG. Here we go. He's looking for it. They're literally already plotting the drop. The shockwave shoots across, maybe a little too far to the left, potentially separated from his teammate. We'll see here in a second.
Go up.
Down to the bottom right. Yep. Now's the time to build up. He has a chance to take the front of this zone. It looks like that's exactly what he's doing. He might be trying to drop down and match elevation with his duo here. That bubble shield from underneath. It's only 60 damage above the threshold. Finds elimination on Suber. Making the way on through there.
But that wasn't his knock. They didn't get an elim, so that was just a conversion. However, he will pop up on some of the mats, but not the ones he really needed. Now sitting on max metal as we're closing in on top 15, nearing that first placement threshold there. You see Yonks going down there. Some great shots coming out from Toggle, but can he full convert? Instead, goes to the far side. 20 HP. No, he caught himself.
Very close. 20 HP remaining, sitting in the front. This is basically the same situation, except he's on the ultimate low ground, looking for shots to take on players that are going to try and make their way in. He's kind of in the middle of the zone now, and there's going to be pressure from the back if there's still someone behind him. Looks like it might be clear now, so they're waiting. They might be going for that last shockwave to push their way in. Yep, Toggle indeed did. You see him at the bottom of the screen now. Landed basically right next to Rampage, MSidig, and Sidig. That trio all still alive. Meanwhile, the top, I am not even remotely surprised. Yonks is eliminated, but Fahad and NM7 sitting on the ultimate high ground. The minigun coming out. And if Fahad still has rockets remaining, this weapon combo might be the way to a victory.
They have so many shields still, so many campfires,
6 RPG shots.
There's no way. They're splitting mats still, too, to make sure they have the ability to tarp out. This is some great teamwork, and this is what we talked about before. Kind of this is where the game starts to break down a little bit in terms of the Middle East. You don't have the rest of the trios. You can't just stack up. You're forced to rotate. But this duo up on the high ground, this is all the amount of control that you need. Look at the shots going down, converting into elims. When we hopped on board with them earlier, they had 0. Now they're pushing up into 6 and 7 as they just have free high ground. Nobody is even looking at them.
In the middle of that, NM7 did pick up 2 eliminations. It's 4 right there. 2 and 1, a total of 7 for this trio thus far, putting him at 87 points in the final game of the Middle East. He won.
And we're into top 4, so that's the third to last placement threshold. It's all about top 2 in the VR from here, and there's no way the power trio is going to give it up as Sidig ends up getting dropped there as well.
Just love the name Power Trio. Shots still raining down. 5 RPGs remaining in NM7's inventory. The trap, 2 full shields, a slurp, the pump, and a gold AR. 3 trios remaining, down to 2. The last set of placement points before the Victory Royale. An RPG to lead, trying to find a shotgun shot through the hole, and the last second flick on Toggle guarantees that Victory Royale.
That's 9 elims and the VR. 24 points coming through there. That's back to back to back that we've seen. I think they won 4 games in total there through the whole stretch. So, whew, wow, Power Trio.
Sometimes you're just better. Speaking of better, we have the man with some of the best looks in the house, Zeke, standing by in the studio. What do you got, Zeke?
I'm so caught off guard. I thought that was going to go a completely different way. I don't know what to say, so we're going to go over to Shy now. Take it away.
We got a package right here breaking down a lot of what just happened in that game, both on top, on high ground, as well as low ground in a few of the shambles positions. A very cool theme, actually. We're going to break it down, see exactly how things are going. Let's check it out. Right now, we're going to take the lesson that everyone kind of knows, but break it down a little bit more as well. When you're by the zone, by yourself, split off from the rest of the map, there's still a chance to actually pick up points and do well. Right now, we see an insane amount of survivability, a insane amount of points actually coming out, even if they're not placement. A nice kind of full send, actually, to go for points, not worry about placement, stay in the storm. The big lesson for playing inside the storm is sticking with your teammates as much as possible. W Horse does that very, very well. He then does split off, does go down. Unfortunately, that does happen, but he still got a lot of points he wouldn't have got beforehand. Now, another perspective as well. On zone line, not actually in it, staying ahead of it with power weapons. You can't look back. That means the minigun's going to be used for quick, fast elims early, and then still full sending, no building. Don't worry about the loot. Just keep trying to shoot as much as possible. We'll see a Reese's trio, the last surviving member of it, staying on low ground next to zone line once again. Shambles position. Can finish out other trios, but chooses for that risky play of gaining positioning first and then going for uninsightful and kind of, random position knocks on people ahead of them. They kind of expect him to go back for loot, but he stays ahead of the circle, uses nice ingenuitous type of peeks from the water down low, and then still tries to commit, does not even care for the loot, still keeps going for those elims, knowing the win condition of this entire game is getting those points. We're going to now flip over to the power trio, the powerhouse of the entire Middle Eastern region so far, Power NM7. He's going to be leading the pack with the RPG, gets that quick elim off the top. Amazing game from them. Amazing side games as well from people at the back. It was amazing to see.
Man, this trio is very quickly making their way into my heart for being a favorite. We'll take a look. Now remember, these are the results from this morning coming out of heat number 1. So FHD, and I think I was corrected, it's Fahad, I believe. We will double check, but Fahad/FHD, Yonks, and NM7 are leading the pack by a pretty significant margin. Don't forget, everyone here has qualified going on through. But, I mean, we look, where is the trio that, let's see, okay. I like this trio. Do we figured out what this is? Is it Siddig?
I'm pretty sure it's Siddig, yeah.
I like it, okay. This is my second trio. Now, don't forget, Klops, Fiesel, they're still somewhere to be found. We'll catch up with them in their heats. But what do you think so far, man? I mean, I'm very impressed coming out of the Middle East. I mean, this is relatively a new region in the competitive format, and it's really cool to just kind of see how they play, like what their style of Fortnite is heading into these kind of qualifiers.
Well, the biggest thing I've seen is the utilization of different types of metagames and tactics. You have the Power Boys who play and use everything for the actual end game, which is really nice, right? You see shockwaves coming down all the way at the end. You see a lot of their utility used at the end. But then you have Rampage doing exactly what his name says. Rampaging forward mid-game, shockwaves, stinks, explosions, everything in his inventory. He's sometimes down to just a tactical shotgun. I don't know if he's dropping his ARs, but it's all used mid-game. That's where they get the majority of their points. So it's really cool to see different things go on the leaderboards in different placements, top to bottom.
That's right. I mean, don't forget, guys, there is 7 regions playing here in Grand Finals. I know we all want to watch MMB, of course we do, but don't forget there's other regions that also have been working incredibly hard to make it here and want to be crowned season champions. But Fortnite fam, with that, we're going to hop back into games. This is heat number 2, game number 4, and we're back with Dr. Lupo and Sundown.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. As you can see there was the leaderboard real quick, but we're going to hop right on into the next matches. Now, Klops, Fiesel, and them were in that heat. They did qualify going through. They were just on that other page inside the top 16, so don't forget, in some of the smaller regions, Asia, Oceania, and Middle East, it is the top 16 to advance because there's only the 2 heats, whereas in the larger regions, there are 4 heats. So they will be playing in the grand final, and since there is no money on the line today there, that's what it's all about. So the performance is, you're there. You're playing in it.
For anybody that did not follow the heat and layout format of the entire event, go to Google and ask. They will help you. I promise. Meanwhile, we are in Game 4 of Heat 2. The Middle East region still, you see in the top right corner of your screen. Just a quick little reminder there. The very beginning of this game. We mentioned Tilted Town earlier. This is one of my favorite personal drop locations right now.
Really?
Oh, absolutely. Because even with the lack of building, you'd think there's nothing you can farm here. You can't break anything. You can still make it out here with quite an arsenal, a ton of materials, and heals for days because the limited loot pool really does focus a lot of the energy into just a handful of different things you see here. Picking up grenades. You've got shockwave. Basically you're going to land on a pump every single time. An AR is almost guaranteed as well. There's a handful of other, little pieces to mix it up. A sniper maybe in the hands of one of your players, that kind of thing. So for me personally, I love seeing a Tilted Town drop because these players are going to come out with a guaranteed loot pool that a lot of competitive players are going to favor no matter what. Plus, infantry rifles are huge late game. You're going to see a lot of people getting picks from the top of towers while others are on rotation. I have to say, it's one of my favorites.
So I don't disagree. I'm a fan of kind of landing near it and then trying to poach through it and seeing whether or not it's been looted or to catch somebody.
You're that guy on the hill that shoots at me.
Well, if I'm rotating around and through occasionally, but in terms of dropping there, the one thing that sticks out to me, I'm a big fan and I play a ton of solos. Solos is definitely my main game plan. I hate when I get in a situation where I felt like there wasn't anything I could do. And if I'm rotating through, there are certain angles in Tilted Town where there is a solid 2 to 3 seconds where if somebody has a bead on you, you will get 200 to 0, period.
Yep.
And for that to happen to me, any time that is more than 0 in an arena match or in a competitive match or in anything is unexcusable for me. I love avoiding those situations and not putting myself in a spot. But with that being said, we can see tons of people opting to go here and taking fights. Right now, Ranger getting the drop, picks up Classy, and then immediately into double pump swap. Those were great shots. And only one of his teammates has been full elim, so he might be able to get over there and save Nightmare as well. But he's trying to track the other player. Does take just the edge of it. And Disco.
See the attempted push there. See if they can pick up the last second hit. 120 from above. Might not be able to connect, and it can't. Ranger picking up the trio of eliminations. Able to get the revive on Nightmare, and hopefully pick up on Obito here in a second. Then go grab the card and get that revive and Tilted Town. Nicely done.
Yeah, and now that they're fully uncontested, they knew there was another team there, Tilted Town becomes much more appealing, right? Now the only way you're going to get picked is somebody coming through the outsides, and a lot of people will not actually venture in. People will look down and see, is anyone there? If yes, shoot. If no, let's go anywhere else.
Immediately after that last elimination, the Discord call that they're in right now, they all just went nuts. Absolutely went nuts. And I don't blame them. A three-piece right there as Rangers defending his trio is huge. They do, like you said, they pick up Tilted Town uncontested now. Now, they may not realize it from, we can see the minimap that there's nobody else there, and there's no one else looking for a third-party opportunity from up on a hill, like you're saying you like to do, which makes me no longer your friend, Sundown. It's okay. Just kidding. But this is a really good spot for them now. They can move back into town, pick up as much of the loot that is here as possible. You see they're splitting minis and any other shields. It's going to be material share, that kind of thing. It's a great spot for them to be in right now.
Now we're going to hop over to one of my favorite drop spots, both as a split drop in trios and a drop in solos, is the Hot Springs with the Fishy.
So speaking of the Fishy, there it is.
Yeah, they're able to pre-edit going through, but there's 2 different chest spawns in the fish. There's 2 chest spawns over on the beach. There's 2 chest spawns up top. There's driftwood spawns up top and over the other sanctuary. And plus the driftwood that's over by the hot springs is 27 a tick. But as I say that, Deadshot gets dead-shotted right away.
This is the problem with this drop. You're saying it is literally a required split drop, so you have people, your trio is not everybody's near each other, and right there, Deadshot being too far to the east ends up paying the price. Not a good look early game in Game 4 for this trio.
Yeah, but normally you're supposed to sprint over here or have a teammate drop over at this science spot immediately, because this is a great source of both metal and brick with 2 different chest spawns. And not having control of this, you typically will sprint over here with a driftwood, but they ran straight into a fight. Godlike takes a ton of damage right off the bat. No shields left to him. Tyrax has to box himself up, and they're in a tough situation when he has really good loot.
He does. He does indeed. Decent spray, no pump, but the tack is still good enough to make a difference. Meanwhile, Godlike Launchpad does have that campfire, but gonna use the single grenade, knock out the structure. Looking for a quick edit through, switching a spray. Can't quite find a bead on anybody just yet. Tyrax still rotating around inside as well. Basically trying to play keep away at this point. They're stuck in a 3v2 situation. Godlike getting punished from above. Gonna have to try and hold that wall. A ton of metal, which is fantastic. It does put the campfire down. But you're looking at a situation where we might have, oh my gosh, got the edit, the trap placement.
The second one down, oh my lord!
Did. Are you kidding me? On the spot.
Godlike, that was godlike.
Such good heads-up play. Ends up getting 2 pickups there, 2 eliminations. This just went from a 3v2 to a 2v1 in their favor.
The good old dodgeball swing there. Might as well have caught the pass. Now they're trying to find it. Tyrex took some damage there. They know the opponent's nearby. Another great follow-up. Some shield tags from Godlike. Finds the 103, and it clears up Hope. They do have drift boards nearby. There is a med kit down there, so we should hopefully be able to keep Tyrex in there, but it burned through a lot of their other resources. On the other hand, you now have the loot from that trio, and we already said they were decently kitted. 3 points going over to them, and having the drift boards mean they should be safe now.
Godlike with a double trap placement play to literally swing that from being outnumbered to 3 eliminations, a launch pad, and the opportunity to escape. That is a big shift. That being said, no matter what, because the distance that Deadshot was from the other 2, they're stuck at a duo now. No chance to grab the reboot card. They're going to have to make their way into the safe zone at this point, especially because they are so far out. You see kind of the curve. They're going to have to make it past Loot Lake all the way down here to get into the safe zone.
And that's super dangerous because you're going to have a number of different teams who are funneling in towards that north side and then looking to continue to rotate out or to about face. And driftboards are loud. That's the one thing about them. While they are very mobile and they're fast, you can hear a driftboard from a mile away, and if somebody does get a bead on you, these players are very good. They won't miss. You will take damage. You'll either have to hop off and then be stuck and being storm held, or just continue to find a way to break line of sight and hope they don't send you into one of those ridiculous spins that you can't recover from.
Tilted down. I know the spins you're talking about. Tilted down, still inside this next safe zone. Look at the move from circle 2 to 3 here in a minute 40. Quick little tag and some stinks inside. Sure the loot share is going on. 142 builds. No eliminations for this trio of Pancake, Sir Panda, and Clipper. You do see all the way to the top of your screen right now a small tower built up on top of that hill above Shifty Shafts. That's basically center-ish of this next safe zone. So that team, whoever's up there, is in a good spot already. You mentioned the drift boards. You see the outline of players flying in. Adapter and Obede both on them right now. Looks like Kakarot might be the only player in that trio that does not have a drift, and he may run into Clipper and Pancake here in just a second. I would expect shots if they think it's a good timing.
Oh.
Right here in a second. Wait for it. Wait, there it is. The countdown, and they start beaming. Looks like all the way to white damage at this point. The knock. Kakarot away from his trio. Is caught on the outside, quickly eliminated as Obede and the other teammate sitting on top of that campfire at this point.
Really weird that he didn't cover his back. Like, I figured he at least would have, like, tried to ramp push himself forward a little bit or, like, just toss a wall in that direction, but it seemed like he couldn't really tell where it was coming from.
You'd expect even the reaction speed from a competitive player in Fortnite right now, like, you get a shot and you're not 100% sure where it's coming from, you're going to spin and burn the 40 materials literally just to put up the walls in every direction. No reason not to.
Worst case scenario, point your head straight down and toss a cone on your head.
Yep.
But now honestly, I hate these fights. These fights irk me more than anything because there's so many spots in Shifty where
there's a lot of little angles
is occupied. But now a great little hop through for a Clipper, but then he gets clipped himself. Die Pancake trying to do everything, does pick up Adapter, and that's another trio going down. So now 3 elims for them, but 2 revives that need to happen. And there's a number of teams there, but Pancake will be playing medic and get this one taken care of.
Well done on his part. 3 eliminations now, 24 points total. We're at 27 trios. Storm Surge is coming into play now. 77 players, which means 7 more need to go down before that stops being an issue. For this trio down here in the bottom of Shifty Shafts, they are free and clear. Over, I think, 190-ish damage above the threshold. Trio from Sam, I believe you picked this trio as your favorite. The Middle East right now, Hunter, Flame, and Prime here at the skeleton of the monster.
Yeah, so they were the only trio to take a week away from Fiesel and Klops. But again, like we said, they had played with 2 different trio partners there, which kind of led me to edge more towards these guys. Flame was the player who ended up qualifying for the World Cup. Unfortunately, wasn't able to attend due to personal reasons. With that being said, seeing him kind of grow on the Middle East region, kind of bring this trio up, he's definitely the anchor here. He's able to pop off in so many circumstances, but the fact that they are very consistent in their discipline, and I think they perform slightly better in kind of these tight heat scenarios, and I'm just excited the fact you see them sitting on 42 points. They are towards the higher end for what we've seen in these matches, so assuming we'll see them in the grand finals tomorrow.
Good chance they make their way on through. We are still in Game 4, so even after this one completes, 2 more games remain for this Middle East Heat 2 group. We shall see. At this point, yeah, here we go. Little box hold. Going to pop that edit and sit and just look around, see if there's anybody on rotation. Comms between this trio while they're sitting here on the northeast side of the next circle. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and maybe 7-ish trios in roughly the same area here. I would say especially the 2 trios to the north right now, looking down from above, they are definitely in contention to take shots as rotations start to occur. But here we go. Hunter and Flame. Hunter dropping a couple of those grenades out. The shield bubble goes down to stop any further aggression for even just a moment. Very good call there. You don't want to lose too much structure, especially to those GL shots. You get a little bit of splash damage going. A couple shield breaks. You're going to see aggression in this trio here in a second if it happened.
So honestly, I'll trade. He had 7 grenades before, so he threw 1 more back in the chamber there. Now he has 3 max. Not sure if there's other explodes across the team, but they pulled zone again. And you burned a bubble shield for not a ton, right? The grenade launcher would be great in a circumstance to force another team out, but that's effectively what they're trying to do there. And instead of trading it for mats and maybe a couple tags, you get other team's bubble shield out. So not too bad, but a push coming in on the other side. As that Zapper does get armed, but grenades get thrown out the other way to try and equalize the fight. Press is coming through. Hunter, however, on the backside, edits back out. Akator gets picked down. Oh my God! Rakan gets mowed down right there. A super aggressive edit coming out from Hunter. Prime, unfortunately, does go down. However, we've seen before with this team that Flame and Hunter are the backbones. Every single time in the week they won, it was Flame and Hunter putting up absolute numbers. Not to down talk Prime or anything, but they are not unfamiliar with this situation. And the fact that they pulled zone again and they're able to rotate through, I'm still confident.
Right now playing like legends, holding it down here still. 2 eliminations. Prime is out of it at this point. Going to go for that quick edit, reset the trap on the wall. Looking to see if he can find it. Can indeed. Lezix is eliminated. Seal off the top of this box that they're sitting in and rotate around. They are, looks like, safe now in here. Chance to pick up the car to potentially make a push. If there is even still, I don't think there is a reboot van in the safe zone. Maybe Shifty, depending on if once we see the full map, we'll have to take a look. Shifty might be the only one, but at this point, that's too far of a rotation. There's no need to worry about that. Nightmare, Ranger, Obito down at the bottom here in the river. Kind of a precarious spot to be in. They basically reclaimed little hut that's down here along the river, but you're so exposed down at the bottom of this canyon. Anybody that's up top that wants to take shots, if you're forced to rotate, is going to have the advantage against you. 24 trios remaining, 67 players. We have 45 seconds until we move towards Circle 4.
Yeah, and the next Storm Surge threshold after the 70 will end up being the 50. So when that one pops up, don't be surprised to see it. With that being said, after the fight with the Sam Trio, they basically had an extra 1K mats laying around. So the next zone pull, if they pull zone again, they're in such a great position. But otherwise, they still have the opportunity to kind of branch out tunnel and have a slightly safer rotation. What we're really waiting on is there's not going to be a whole lot of action for the next 20 seconds or so until that zone settles and it moves. Everyone has basically staked out their territory. We've seen a few pokes back and forth, but right now, since no Storm Surge is active, some grenades coming out right now. Oh, and this is something I want to talk about right after they go through, because we've seen the rise of the Solari nade, which is a little bit like this, but here's Godlike and Tyrax, who we saw with that early 2v3 turnaround from Godlike, trying to go on the aggressive here, and they've separated this full trio, knowing they got that. Nightmare, unfortunately, gets his ramp block, but that's not his metal wall, and that's going to complete. That's a launch pad burn for nothing, and now he's been completely segmented off. They are in zone, edit down, great 100 tech, picks up Tyrax, but then Godlike picks it up, does cover his back, will try and get the conversion through the siphon. Can Godlike clutch it up again? He wants to get back over to his teammate. Nightmare does get the conversion, and he's safe, but now what can you do as the other trio starts pouring in shots? Shield tags coming out from Ranger. Obito over there as well. But as the zone settles, if he can branch out even a little bit, he should be able to disengage. Some nades come flying in, but now it seems like they've mostly given up the fire as he's disengaged down into the water. as I say that,
This might be some of the most aggression we've seen between two trios that, honestly, with the position that they were in previously, it even surprises me that they pushed for this, because coming from the west side of the river,
have to win this fight.
They didn't even have to get in there, but Tyrax gets capitalized on, goes down, godlike. Tyrax, the trio, eliminated. But I'm just saying, like, they were a duo and they just pushed on a trio and they didn't necessarily have to. It was a chance for eliminations, and it ended up, it got them one, but it paid the price. Now they're out of game 4.
So what Obito did there, it was sick, by the way, because when he put down the metal floor as the revive happened, both character models stood up at the same time, and they were force phased through.
Yep.
So you either crouch down and they own the wall and you can't go anywhere, or you're just stuck with a wall blocking basically the entirety of your screen, and you're looking up and getting headshotted, which is what ended up happening there. But the aggression coming out from a singular nade tag when you pulled zone again,
Yeah.
like, if the PG boys had just boxed up, like, they'd be set and they'd be good. But the aggro coming out, trying to play the aggressors, did get the pick on the Nightmare, but Ranger and Obito saying, nope, not today. They'll get that one. Now going all the way back. So the Solari nades, right? When you line it up, it's 300 damage of explosives coming through at once. Have you noticed that every single time somebody's on the receiving end of the clip, they're sitting in a wood structure in around zone 4 or 5?
Yep.
Yo, stop building your 4, 5, and 6 zone structures with wood.
People are going to learn
And then complaining
eventually,
about getting
Sundown.
Solari naded.
People are
right?
going to learn eventually.
So build with metal, because then the first barrage comes through and it gets eaten. And if you can't throw another wall up after that, then you probably deserve to get hit by those nades.
It's just tough because you're trying to sit on the metal until later in the game.
Nope.
But hear me out. I understand. You're trying to sit on the metal until later in the game. A lot of players at certain points will say, I don't want to have to worry about that as we go into the end of it. You know, they're going to start looking at eliminations as their source of material. Basically, a replenishment. But you're right. Using the metal between 4 and 5 is probably one of the more important things if you think a nade barrage is going to happen, because if you don't prepare for it, that's going to happen. You're going to get eliminated.
Like, your two options are either have a hard scout looking for pre-edited cones, because that's how you line it up, or just sit in metal. And I know, but even then, like, you could sit on top of a full, like, a singular metal cone in a 1x1 at the top. As long as you're in that, you're good from the first barrage, and then you can edit down and recone yourself. I'm just throwing it out there. 400 HP on fully.
You're not wrong. We'll say that. You're not wrong.
But now, good rotation coming out here, utilizing the launch pad, and now we're pulling in towards the half-in, half-out zone that has the potential. I mean, this is brutal. You're half on a mountain, you're near tilted zone, so you're either running through the river while the billy goats are up on the side, or you're being forced to go over the verticality. So these next zones are going to be key. That's why you see people burning utility now to get primary positioning here, because you're either on the high ground or you're stuck.
Ooh. Trying to take shots at more players rotating through. Carl, 1 elimination. Raid and Snoika, 3 and 1, so 5 eliminations total for this trio. 20 points, 20 trios remaining right now, 43 players. Well ahead of what the damage threshold is thus far, especially if Carl continues to hit tags, if they even have to worry about it at this point. Here we go, the next circle, looking at a northeast push back across the valley through the river. Just massive amounts of pressure. The minigun combined with a legendary AR spraying walls down. They're trying to seek out any damage tags they can, because they do get a knock, especially in a place like this. Everyone's basically pressed against the wall. You're looking at a chance where someone else is going to try and take shots at that too. Plus, Carl has 12 RPGs. Here we go. Wait for that edit. See if you can sneak one in and get a ton of damage.
You have 12. You need to start firing these off.
Honestly,
can't take them with you. Oh, there you go. Can't take him with you. As you see, he gets the 120 tag there and immediately going to start reloading. He knows people are going to move. Launchpad does come out. Good little archway edit, but oh, yeah, there you go. That was actually such a great move to get up on the high ground on the far side. Now start firing those babies off. Punish these players who are trying to rotate through right now and take advantage of your superior positioning. But right now, instead, just going to get themselves settled in the fact they're sitting on 5 E-Libs and they have great positioning right now over the rest of the lobby. Bubble shield on top of the launch pad to prevent the immediate laser, so good little combination there and showing off the versatility of that new addition.
There we go, taking their rotation as well. Carl all the way up top. Number of players rotating on through there too. Tuna potentially going to take shots. This trio tries to make their way in, looking for a spot to land. Carl's going to get forced all the way down underneath a tree, basically the low ground with this many players above. 13 trios remaining at this point, which means one more needs to go down, and then placement points come out. A solid rocket! Ooh. Are you kidding me? Right through. What an angle there as Carl picks up at least, let's see, 2 knockdowns. Minor and unique, both knocked. You see in the feed up there, which means 1 player left. There's the eliminations come out. Vinti is the last one to go down there, and this shockwave to put him at the forefront of the storm, very, very key. Looking back down underneath, still 10 more RPG shots. Feeds one through, another trio of 121 damage hits, another one. Oh my gosh, the feed just does not stop for Carl, finding knock after knock. Raid does go down, you see, got to be eliminated, so they're down to only a duo, but building forward, one right in front. Another elimination there, up to 5.
Great awareness, too, to turn now with that AR towards the line, seeing the player rotate and drop down, catching him, and now he worked directly back up to Snoika. So all of a sudden, they're back together, and they're one of the few duos who is still left. Everyone else is pretty much a solo rider. You can see Flame still in the top left. Carl picked up another Elam. That's another rocket finding down. No marks there, but then gets it with the AR tags. Top 4, but he gets picked up. Still 7 RPGs in there, but he had great efficiency there. Dropping down, there's 1 duo left. Otherwise, it's all solo riders. 11 Elims from Snoika and his trio. Nobody wants to fall here. You want to get into top 2. There's Elim number 12. There it is, and there's top 2 as Ziad goes down. It's Obito versus Snoika there. Can he close it out? Unfortunately, pinned against the wall. You have to go forward. 7 HP, but it's a wall of tack shots coming up there, sprinting straight into Obito and Ranger, the duo who is able to clean up that fight in the river, turns around the resources, runs the lobby. 13 Elims, 15 points for the VR, 28 points there. That was pretty impressive, Zeke. What do you think?
I mean, look, anytime you can knock out 28 points in a single game, you're feeling pretty dang good, and I'm pretty sure the Ranger trio here was feeling pretty good after that. Now we're back here. We're joined by Shai because he's got some pretty incredible plays to take a look at.
Yeah, the main thing with Obito that I saw was crosshair placement. It was actually insane from what I saw. The way he kind of manipulates each environment he's in on where he wants to place his crosshair is amazing. So we're going to break that down real quick. We're going to get into it and see exactly how things go. Checking out the replay right now, we're going to be in Tilted Town with Ranger. So at the moment, he's going to be looking top down, making sure his crosshair is always in the middle because he knows builds actually won't come out. It's really cool to see as well, dynamically switching his spacing on where he is. He'll see a shockwave or an enemy come out from the actual house he's in. Instead of fighting him, he gets boogie bombed. He's going to go up, make sure that whenever he's going to be pumping through, it's going to be a guaranteed headshot from the top down. More pellets will actually hit in this engagement. So very good, very fast cleanup. You'll notice every pump shot he takes is a direct over 100 damage because of where he places his crosshair. Right now we're checking out his another person in the region as well. He's going to be going up and around Thunder. Carl actually moving in and out of his box on different layers. You'll see that he actually sees a lot of the zone, so when he actually jumps up with the shockwave, he can see exactly where he's going. Then we tune in back with Obito, just standard up end game, but once again that crosshair placement from both these trios, knowing exactly what layer they're on and where to look. There's no confusion whatsoever on exactly what is going on. So off mid ground, you want to look up a little bit, but most of the time your crosshair tilted down, looking exactly where the enemies are. Another plus 100 pump coming through. Once again, no confusion. RPG, look for more Elam points down below. Easy shots taken, a little bit of an overpeak, but the clutch factor is always there. Once again, positioning perfectly, taking your time. The crosshair, I will keep stressing it, is so good. Just being at the perfect position possible. Less work for you, more expected. Insane plays, high accuracy. It's amazing.
Man, Obito, Ranger, and Nightmare. Now, Nightmare unfortunately was taken out, but still an awesome game from them. 28 points. Obito really manipulating the chakra of his enemies there. If you get it, you do. If you're not, that's okay as well. With that, he got it. With that, we're getting ready to hop into another round of games. We're going to be jumping into game number 6 of heat number 2, if I'm correct. And I believe that's going to be Monster, Deface, and I. Is that correct? Monster, is that you? Oh my gosh! Wait a minute. We're not the same Wait a minute.
No, look. I have different clothes. We have different facial hair. We're 2 different people, brother.
We're 2 different people. Oh my gosh, I thought it was just me and me there for a moment. My bad. Apparently you and I are actually 2 completely different individuals with different voices. Now you know. Fortnite fam, we're getting ready to jump into the next set of games. What do you think so far, man? So remember, these games happened this morning, but what do you think about the Middle East?
They literally have me breathless. It's been a lot of fun. No, honestly, watching the games unfold. Again, we talk about a lot. Watching new region come up, and have an opportunity at the spotlight. It's been a blast.
Well, let's not wait any longer. We're jumping into game. Here we go. This is game number 6, I believe, of heat number 2, if I'm correct. We're jumping into all of the action right now. But yeah, man, Middle East is absolutely insane. Their precision, their accuracy, their aggression, like, they are out of this world. And it's kind of crazy to think, like, they've been on this forever, you know, and now we actually get to see it. They get to show us what we've been missing out on. And that's what's kind of cool about Fortnite as a whole. It's a global competition, right? So being able to add another region and then be like, oh, hey, what's up, Fortnite fam? We are also part of this, fam. We're here to play. Let's show you why. I mean, it's just impressive.
That's right, and we've seen a couple stars come up. Even our predictions aren't necessarily as accurate as we thought they would be. It could just be because, obviously, we're taking a look at
this is just the first heat.
Regions, right, and even right there, Sam Hunter. I know that was like
Sundown.
Fallout, right? So like today, when the stakes rise, right, and then things are a little more intense, these heats are coming out. We're seeing new faces come out. And that's what matters. The players that can perform under pressure. It kind of reminds me like way back when, and you know, shout out to Fulmer. I know he pulled through in the trios division for this recent one, but Fulmer did a fantastic job in the opening session of the Winter Royale, but then he couldn't pull through in the finals, and we've seen that kind of happen. So sometimes when the pressure's on, people have a harder time. So, you know, we'll start to feel it out, see what happens when the high stakes are up, almost the same way like can Mitra, Mongrel, Benji pull it through again, which we know they probably will, but
yeah,
it's when the stakes rise, who comes out on top. Those are the real champions.
I think Sundown pretty much puts it best. It's some days are just not going to be your days, and some days a Fortnite for you will go unbelievable. You'll find your golded out kit, right? You'll get those eliminations. You'll get those perfect rotations or those launch pads, those splashes, whatever utility item you need. And sometimes it just isn't going to go your way. So being able to kind of pivot in that moment and say like, okay, look, we landed here. We took a bad fight. What do we do right now, right? That is going to separate good players from the very best of the best, right? And I think I kind of touched on it a little bit earlier. I still don't think we've seen the highest range of Middle East. I still think they have a very high ceiling, and they're just going to continue to show us what that is as the season, as this Grand Finals continues.
And talking about ceilings and shots and all that kind of good stuff, Obito actually caught a nice little headshot with the hunting rifle on one of those unsuspecting players who was firing down and did not expect that shot to come right back. Lots of offense played right there, but Steady's trying to get to that reboot card. He actually is going to pop the shockwave. And I don't know if this is the right play, putting himself at a disadvantage here. Oh, because it was only a knock, right? He didn't actually get to finish the deal, so he's going to be able to pull this revive off right here. He's going to be able to pick that player up. Obito and Ranger are now stuck in a 3v2. Remember, no one can build here in Tilted Town. It's all about the angles. Nice little camera usage right there. Getting over the shoulder. That's going to be a one drop, two. Can he get the third right here? Connecting with so many shots. Zeke, this is going to be really close. Here it is. Oh! Hits the big pump. Ranger showing that he is not here to play any games, but Fortnite games.
I like that. Fortnite games. That was good. I like that. Man, that was crazy. But for Ranger to just immediately down 2 people, right, and then kind of force the enemy into that 1v1 with the chug splashes in his hand, if you're the enemy and you're popping something like a mini, you still have that, like, delayed timer, right? A minimum 2 seconds. There was some splashes there. That enemy was like, you know what? I've got the splashes, but I think I hit him pretty hard. Let's just go full send and see what happens. Now, Ranger was like, oh, are you? Please, come on over. I've got the pump ready to go, and I will down you. And that's why we saw them pick up the win last time. Again, just that aggression, that precision. These guys are executing on another level.
And that's one of the perks of battling in Tilted Town. You can really see those clutch ups happen because of the camera movement. It all comes down to angling yourself, hiding your body, and then making those shots. Here we have a little bit of a brute gameplay. We haven't seen much of the brute today in any of the regions. We just really haven't seen much. It's been kind of, I guess, flying under the radar per se.
Yeah, we've I believe, if I remember correctly, we've seen it like 2 or 3 times. And right now, the way it's used is either to like just go full send on people inside of Retail Row, because then you can kind of farm the pylons there, farm all those cube monsters very quickly and efficiently, or you kind of sit in a build and then you edit a roof piece off, fire out the rockets, and then re-edit here. Sykes is going to find one of the 2 eliminations, and they're trying to track down another one if possible. It looks like Cubo has one of the enemies. There you go. They're going to drop down. Not today, Red Boy. Not today.
That was just too easy for them right there. Stomping the yard, bringing down the build fight. Oboe was holding it down, but it was not enough here as they walk away with a couple of elims. And they're completely capped out at this point now. Now they just have all the time in the world to heal up. They have the material source just from getting those knocks. That's going to be able to kind of replenish their pool. And it's only Zone 1. There's already 70 players left in the lobby. So this lobby, unlike the others, has actually chopped down pretty quickly. It's because they're getting into their groove at this point. This is Game 6 of Heat 2.
Yeah, so this is pretty much, remember, the Heats are in games of 6, right? So when this happened this morning, this is it. This is a player's last opportunity. So if they're down on points, they're looking to qualify. Remember, for this region, it is top 12 that move on. So they're trying to rack up as many points as they possibly can. So they just have to say, look, cards on the table, we just have to go in. If something goes extremely well, we can potentially strike up in top 12 and move on. Or if it all goes wrong, you know, we may be outside of the range, but we need to make something big happen, and it needs to happen right now.
That takes me back to the World Cup qualifier days when Nate Hill and Funk came up out of nowhere with only a game or 2 left from a 30-point, I believe, and they climbed their way all the way up to like 60 or 70, pulling them all the way through to the final. So anything can happen here in these Fortnite games, really, when you put your mind to it. Sometimes the stars just align for you, really, and big plays happen. So big build battle out in the distance here, Zeke. This is your worst nightmare. Brute coming in. You don't want to be up top. You really don't even want to be here at this point because the rain of fire is going to start coming in now. And that is, for starters, a 50 shield pop right there. And it's Hunter, Prime, Miner, and Unique all going toe-to-toe here.
And
Hunter's already down. Prime's out.
That's it. Well, Sundown, how right were you on those predictions, my friend? Actually, he's very correct.
He's still
he's
correct.
Really good at his job. But yeah, that the Sam remaining duo there was picked up in the crossfire, and now they're looking to try and track down the last few players. That laser designator coming out telling you, hey, rockets are inbound toward you. You might want to make a move as quickly as possible. The thing about the Brute is, don't forget, it is like, if you just beam it down, you can either laser out one of the drivers, which is the top, or the one in the legs. But look, I mean, just them focusing down, they've already destroyed 500 HP from the Brute. So if you literally just turn it down and laser it, it's going to just blow up, right? And that's the thing is, I think people haven't quite adjusted to the fact oh, you can actually just beam this thing down. Right, because your first intent is I just got to get away from it. It's like, no, literally just look at it and beam it down. I'm telling you, even with a minigun, you'll just shred it.
You'll see that on NA East or a lot of the other competitive regions, especially the European and North American regions. They see a mech on the field, they turn, they alter. The server almost unanimously decides, hey, we're gonna fire at that.
Get
that out of here. Yep, and that's kind of the focus fire you need. In situations like this, when, like you said, that team was running, they paid the price. Lost the player immediately. The team on the mountain was firing down. Had they all just focus fired, that thing would have been gone.
Right.
These players would have been exposed, and it would have been a 2v3, right? Because, look, their third is so far away. He's over here still working on the builds and stuff, looking for loot.
And we did eventually see the Brute go down, right? Because it was that team up high that did eliminate the Brute. But like you said, man, if it had just gone a little bit faster, those guys had just said, we just need to laser this thing right now, it would have worked. Now look at this, though. This trio, the Lil Trio, they're trying to get their way up right now. iXon is trying to go
Lil
for
Fly, Lil Daddy, Lil Exxon.
There you go.
You gotta love it. Just a bad player gets knocked right there.
I mean, look, it's not a bad player because you made it to the Heat, so you're pretty dang good. You got to change your name, all right? Come up with some new names, and we'll circle back to you. But yeah, they're going for height, trying to isolate and eliminate this team if possible. But looking at the minimap monster, there's still, I mean, there's a trio down by the ravine here. If they decide they want some of this action, we've even seen one of the little triangles looking. You know what? It's not worth it.
We're looking over, but Exxon actually threw that shield bubble down, giving them a little bit of breathing room. And if I'm not mistaken, whatever team was climbing up there, unfortunate for them, but they went up and one player got heavy sniped. and then the bad player was shot down. Not to call him a bad player, but
that
just
is his
a
name.
bad player. That's your name, buddy. Yeah, he was shot down by the AR. So the focus fire really not going in their favor right there. They came up at the wrong time and paid the price for it. But here we have Exxon just chilling up above. Whatever threats that were lingering about have now moved out, and they're chilling. They're doing really good for themselves. Zone 2 underway going into 3. The Storm's already moving. They have to roll too. They're not safe just yet.
Yeah, I mean, they doesn't look like they have anything in the means of mobility. They're great on builds, though. Almost capped off, just missing some of that wood material there. But we can't even see where the new safe zone is. If you look at the bottom right minimap, once you can start to kind of see the edge of that circle, you're like, okay, I don't actually have to go that much farther. But right now, we still can't even see it. So this circle must be, it's got to be far.
It's got to be just past. There it is. You saw a little snippet. So it's there. It's not too far. I think Exxon will probably eat a little bit of the zone pressure here.
Yeah.
For kind of biding time, getting materials. But it's more important to have those materials anyways. You kind of need them. So I don't blame them. Now jumping over to Baguette, IOV, and Cursive. They're actually in the best spot possible right now. You saw the team we were just keeping up with, the little homies down on the river over there.
The little homies.
The little homies.
There it is.
Do you remember? Do you ever remember those little homies? That was like a real reference.
Wait, you talking about like the actual, like the toy, the little homie?
Yeah, they were the little, you put a quarter in, you kind of roll for them.
Yes,
oh,
I do. But people,
I had so many of those.
But see, people that are much younger than us have no idea what we're talking about.
We're so old, Zeke.
We're so old.
And we look alike.
There you have it. There you have it. Cursive, what in the world?
Nice
so don't
shots.
forget, this Crix was was one of the people in that brute we saw earlier.
Yeah.
And now look, he's like, hey, give me an opportunity. Let me just beam your face off. There you go. He got the opportunity.
Taken right out, and oh man, all these players are trying to get this freebie pass here with that launch pad, but another player goes down. It's going to be Trigger QQ Unique. He's going to get taken out. Cursive putting monstrous pressure up with the scoped AR, which a weapon we just do not see shine enough. And it's gotten so many changes, so many great changes. They increased the damage on it. It no longer has damage drop off. It's 100% accurate. It's actually a fairly useful rifle, especially for long range like that. You can chip away at players. You see the marking coming out perfectly as well, just letting his teammates know, hey, I hurt that guy. This guy's shot right here. He's doing a really good job controlling the field here.
And the thing is, at least I believe, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think the reason we don't see a lot of the scoped AR is because the infantry rifle kind of does the same thing, but the infantry rifle is more useful at close quarters, right? Because when you scope in with the AR, you're not going to do that at point blank, and the crosshair is way too big to try and take that engagement. But if you point blank someone with the infantry rifle, which everyone can do, because like this is the very best of the best, right? That's where all these flick shots come out. They're going to hit you for 80 plus damage right to your face, right? So I think that's probably why he has that scoped AR. If he probably could find an infantry rifle, he might opt to swap it out. And maybe this player loves the scoped AR because I think it's a great weapon. But that's probably why we don't see that weapon as much as we probably should.
Yeah, you're right. The infantry rifle, and it just hits harder, right? You know, why hit for 26 when if you're going to peak like that, he'll hit you for 41?
Yeah.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
Like, yeah, you don't get the zoomed in scope, but I mean, if I just put this crosshair over that pixel and I get that damage number,
which they do.
They do. They don't miss. That's why they are here. That's why they've made it to these heats, and they're looking to make it into grand finals. I mean, this is the very best of the best, man.
We're chiseling it down right here, but nice heavy snipe attempt right there. He's not going to quite connect. Now here comes a rotation.
You can get this. You can get
he's
this.
waiting.
Focus.
The
Focus.
strafe. You stand still. You eat the bullet. It's Cursive who goes down. Little Exxon here lands a monster shot. He's now trying to knock him off that ground right there. See if he can force that player down to convert on the elimination here, Zeke.
That's crazy. On Cursive of all people, like, we just left him beaming players left and right. Like, you cannot stand still. You just cannot. We call that gargoyling. You cannot sit there like a gargoyle and stand still because these heavy snipes will come out. They will drop you every single time. And that's what our little homies just did. I tried not to laugh. I really did. Oh, gosh. Anyway, that's what Exxon did. He was like, you waited. And you saw the patience, right? Because he could have taken a shot at any moment. But he said, look, this guy's going to stand still. Cursive will make the mistake. I'm just going to wait. And sure enough, it happened.
That's right, and man, they managed to pull that revive off, which you really only see in trios, right? Even though they tried to full send, just one person playing defense is just good enough to kind of hold out and get those saves off. So lucky for them, Cursive is going to be able to pop his minis there. You saw him; he's still in the running here, but we have a battle now on the Storm line back here. EG's under fire right now. They're still 3-1 in this situation. It's one tap, boom, who gets hit with a big shot right there. Puts him right down.
And another one, a follow-up to Dev there. That was okay, Tormund. Those flick shots were out of this world.
Wait a second, was that did he no-scope him in the face? Like, what just happened right there?
Dude, honestly, I blinked and I missed it. That's how good ME is. But, dude, look at this loadout right now. So this is what we kind of talked about, right? So similar loadout to what we saw from Cursive. The difference is he is rocking the legendary infantry rifle instead of that scoped AR. So, you know, your loadout's very much going to dictate what you can and can't do. And right now, Tormund has a lot. Okay, I was about to be like, bro, did you just
like
body shot that?
That looked like
that would have been so dope. Close. Very close, though.
Very, very close indeed. So they're facing up a tough rotation here. They have a long way to go. There's a team perched up on the high ground, team to the left, team based up in front of them, one down in the ditch below them. This is a struggle of a rotation. I mean, they do have shockwaves, and look, they're looking at the extra mass. They're looking at the extra trap in the zone like, hey, buddy, is it worth it? Like, we kind of need this. Okay, lucky for them, they do have a launch pad. They're going for that immediate launch pad play. Have to hug the mountain right here. There it is. They're going to go in and block that line of sight just a little bit, and lucky for them, they do not get the focus of the server as they make it across the river here now.
But look on the little hill there that was on their left. Obito, Nightmare, and their third partner is here. They are here ready to potentially take another win if possible. Now, these guys are already sitting on 4 eliminations, which, by the way, 4 eliminations halfway through your game in a server like this speaks volumes in itself. Like, it's either one of two things, right? They had that early drop, they contested a team, and they eliminated them, or what we saw is they said, you know what, it's almost late game, we're moving it in there, let's try and make a pick. They do have the double heavy snipe and the rocket launcher monster. They can make some plays.
That's right. With the heavy sniper, with their RPG, it actually looks like they're poised up for one right now. There goes the heavy snipe to open up a box right there. They find a brute. In comes the shots. They just want to expose that brute, get as much damage in it as possible. And that's a 121.
On
that's
two
going to
people.
connect with exactly two different players right there. That's huge. That team is going to be in a world of hurting. In comes the RPG. Heavy snipe play right there. Cracks it right open. LX KBR goes down. In comes another rocket, and they just wipe that entire team up.
But see, that's the difference, right? Earlier on in the match, we saw the brute kind of terrorizing a few different trios. But this is exactly what you want to do. I quickly identified that's a brute. And look at that. They just immediately destroyed that entire trio almost effortlessly, right? Like, the only thing they really traded was a few AR rounds, which looking at just Pro here, Lax, he's got almost 800 rounds of AR, completely topped off on rockets. He used, I think, 4 rockets back there, if I remember correctly, all to just pick up another trio. Like, that's huge, and that's just going to continue to propel him. It's also going to remove that brute from play. So, because if that had gone into late game, that would have definitely devastated the battlefield.
You also got to appreciate the team that was above him was like, hey, the guys below us have RPGs and heavy snipers, by the way. Let's get out of here. They launched they launched at it right out of there. Like, dude, I want nothing to do with this. So off they went, and now they get a free launch pad. We like to call these the community launch pad. Sharing is caring in the situation here where they get that freebie rotation. Anyone nearby gets to kind of skate on out of there as well. And here's a look at your server. As you see, there's still a couple of faces to look out for here. Ranger, Nightmare, and Obito we saw pop off just a bit ago. Ranger really making some big plays here. Looks like he's contesting for the high ground. He's trying to use that distraction of the team that was battling there, and it's going to work out. They're gonna get this high ground. The shockwave is going to come up. Is it going to be enough? Doesn't look like it. Things are going to pause up a bit here. His Rangers still, they're very high, though. His boys are battling here, Zeke.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't really have the loadout. Like, unless he has, like, I was going to say the only thing he can do is shockwave here, but, I mean, or just catch Mood completely off guard. That is a 100 to the back of his head, and they're going to drop him and find potential more loot. There is an edit peek going on, and there you go. See ya later. I'm so sorry. I'll just see myself out here. See, I did it twice.
Later. Take it out right there by the MES boys. That was actually
we got our jib
really
operator
intense.
over here, Nicole. She's dying. She's dying. I got one person to laugh. We did it, boys. All right.
Was it worth it, Zeke?
Yes, it was. It's always worth it. Ranger and Obito here. Now, the question is, did Nightmare go down, or is he just lower somewhere else? Okay, so Nightmare is actually down. Ranger has 4 eliminations, and Obito is the 1. So that means it's just going to be them for the rest of the game, because there's no way you're getting a revive off at this point in the game.
Look how high up they are as well. They're so high up right here.
Really
They only
scary.
have 1 shockwave.
This is too scary.
But, I mean, they got the elims while on the high ground, so you know they just replenished a ton of material. The question is it enough?
Oh,
no,
God, the rocket!
It's not enough.
No, the rocket, you got to launch.
Yep, there it is. They saw it coming. He shockwaves right off. He still manages to land on high ground, and more shockwaves are now coming out. But him and his duo that remains from this trio here are left alone to battle this server out.
And Ranger had a shockwave that he used to get much further down, so they're very far apart right now. But Ranger's doing okay, just took a big hit, and his shield got chunked down. They have to try and regroup if possible, but I mean, everyone else in the lobby is onto what they're doing. Now, he's going to find Baguette here, his deliciousness, and he's going to try and get some of that potential loot. More shockwaves are coming through, so now he can try to make more plays. The question is, where is Ranger? Like, Obito's making a play for high ground again. He's like, look, I don't know what you're doing. I've got to try and get back up to high ground. Because of that, Ranger falls, and now look, Obito has unfortunately launched himself behind everyone. No shotting gun can help you there. It's a tough life to live, but the game keeps on rolling. Brook, is down there on no HP. Gentle is here, kind of on the safer side of the circle. But look, Monster, across the board, everyone is in critical condition right now.
The server just got melted. I don't know what happened, but that zone wave was absolutely devastating to most of the players that remained in this lobby. Shockwaves are now popping off right here as Power GNTL, Power Gentle is trying to hold it down, trying to stay in the running here. He has 1 shield bubble remaining. If he uses it, he can't fire up. If he doesn't use it, he kind of goes down without it. It could be the difference in keeping him in the game here. He's going to run for the mats. There's going to be huge mats. He actually didn't have any up until that point. There's a minigun. There's an RPG right next to him. He's going to focus the RPG player instead of using that to his advantage here. So now he's left in a 1v1 situation. He did get 1 material off of that. That's all he has. Can he connect? Zeke here. He has 1 more shot to make, and he does connect. Not Weevil falls in the final moments. Gentle somehow pulling it all together, making the right decision to hit his shots.
That is absolutely insane. With no materials, constantly having to scavenge. Gentle there made it all work in his favor. And don't forget, that was one of the trio we saw in the very beginning that started the game with the Brood. So they still play second because of that. Still points to be divvied out. For now, we're going to go back into studio with Sundown. Sundown, what you got for us?
Thank you so much, Zeke and Monster. And what I got will be some highlights from that last game we just saw, and then the final results from Heat 2 of the Middle East. So we'll see who's going to round out the second half of that roster in the grand finals tomorrow. But first, let's take a look at some of the action that went down and what led to the final moments. So first, we're hopping on board. We saw Thunder Carl have a great game previously with those Rockets in the last game. Got to watch him break that down, having a very strong early game here, able to put to work with that recently unvaulted TAC SMG, the high rate of fire just ripping apart. You can see Reed able to follow up right away, putting the 2 tactical weapons to great tactical use there, cleaning that one up and closing out the fight. Now, we talked about kind of the limited weaknesses the Brute has and how it can kind of affect it right here. You're third partying somebody who's already at multiple levels. There is no way they're going to be able to turn and react. That is basically free mowing for the Brute. Now, it does end up getting focused down eventually, but not before they're able to pick up a massive advantage from just showing up to the fight at the right time. Now, we're going to rotate over again, because notice, we're just inside the placement threshold here, and Gentle is all by his lonesome, and this is what we talked about in the Middle East, how the gameplay tends to break down towards the end. People lose a little bit more of their teamwork compared to the other regions, and that's what allows Gentle to just out-survive the rest of the lobby, picking up a number of clutch elims at the end, which ends up pushing him up a difference of 9+ points there from the placements and the eliminations he was able to get, those final moments being enough to push them up into the grand final territory. Let's take a look at the standings, and I mean, you can see them right up there on the board as well. Just a great performance coming out, the results coming on here, and like, Again, my pick right there, Prime, Aflame, and Hunter, but also shout out to Obito, Nightmare, and Ranger for their great performance, the trio playing out of India. So again, I love seeing these different regions being able to go through. We will actually also see the next page as well, since the top 16 are the ones who are advancing, so you can see the line right there. And again, the one thing I want to note is the difference of how many in Fortnite, when all the little plays matter. Right here, the line, it's 1 point. That's one elimination. That's getting one other revive. That's finishing one other knock, but able to push through one-shot Soriana and Power RV. So honestly, the field is now set. Both of the trios who we predicted will be competing in the grand final tomorrow, and I'm excited because we'll get an opportunity to see some of those matches and crown our first ever Season X champion. So it's going to be great. We've seen a lot of Middle East so far. That's it for the games from them. We're going to throw it to a quick 5-minute break while we get ourselves situated, use the bathroom, do anything, go walk your dog real quick, get some water, get some food in you, because we're going to do the same, and then we'll be back with more Fortnite action.
Hello, family of Fortnite. BallTW here, and throughout the Fortnite Champion Series, we're going to be trying to get more acquainted with the world of competitive Fortnite. Today, we're going to be discussing the 3 different stages of a competitive Fortnite game: the early game, the mid game, and the late game, and what different players have as their goals during these stages in order to achieve the ultimate goal, the Victory Royale. Let's start with the early game. Also called the looting phase, this is where all players are attempting to secure their chosen landing spot and maximize their loot potential. In competitive Fortnite, every game matters, so players try to strike a balance between high loot opportunity and safety so as to not waste a game by being eliminated early. Do you drop at a high loot POI like Retail Row or Paradise Palms? Or land at a safer POI on the edge of the map, where less players drop because of less loot? Regardless, the goal is common. Whether you take a passive approach by looting safely on the side of the map, or an aggressive and risky approach by letting others loot for you and finding early eliminations. Now that we know what the early game is, what should we be looking out for during this stage? First things first, being contested. The first realization players make when landing is whether you're being contested or not, to prepare for the upcoming possible fight. Trios want to try to force your opponent into the more disadvantageous position cut off from loot potential. Either they have to make a desperation push, or they're stuck with less loot where you can easily clean up. That's just the beginning, as even though it starts off high intensity with all the different POIs being contested, it quickly slows down as the rotations begin towards first zone. Looting doesn't end here, and most competitive players will have a loot path, which optimizes their possibility for finding the crucial mobility and weapon upgrades. Thanks to the new battle map feature in the replay mode, we can study these loot paths and rotations quite easily these days. So go check that out in any replay from the Fortnite Champion Series by going into the Compete tab and finding your favorite player. It will vary from game to game, but generally, we move into the mid game around the middle to end of second zone. The mid game is the calm before the storm circle gets too small where it forces the engagements. Most players' goals aren't positional, but in some cases, depending on how the early game went, you again have to strike a balance, this time between looting and farming, or going for the best position. Looting could include playing extremely aggressive to earn yourself other players' loot. In trios, it's much harder to play that aggressive playstyle, since fights take longer and cost more. You want to be efficient with any rotations or fights you have to take. You don't want to spend your precious mobility, valuable resources, or health. This is why you'll see a lot of the top players look directly for center zone in the mid game. When you're in the center zone, you end up giving yourself the most chance of being in the next storm circle when it gets revealed. You'll then have to go less distance and thus spend less materials. Finally, the end game, the most exciting, hectic, thrilling, and difficult part of competitive Fortnite. Experiencing an endgame can be confusing and hard to process, but it will also be one of the most rewarding and fun times to play and watch. This is when you take all the advantages you built in the early game and the mid game and use them to push yourself to a victory royale, and also find as many eliminations as possible. In the current Fortnite Champion Series format, every elimination matters, just like it did in the World Cup. From 6th zone onwards, where the calm from the mid-game explodes into a cacophony of tunneling, mobility usage, and shots being fired, you'll see teams go for the ever-so-advantageous high ground, where they can tunnel very cheaply and have the most opportunity on the rest of the server for elimination, as they have the top-down view. You'll also see teams call out the need to find a good layer, which is away from other players, both above, below, and horizontally from you. You'll see teams desperate for the extra materials to last them through to the full zone closure, going for impact eliminations where they can top off on resources and power weaponry of their fallen opponents. So, whether you're watching or you're joining us on the field, take stock in the stage of the game, the early game, when you're trying to get the best possible loot while it's still available. The mid game, where you're balancing positioning while maintaining what you built during the early game. And finally, the end game, where you spend all the advantages you set yourself up with to earn the victory royale. Use this to form your game plan in order to earn as many series points weekend after weekend. And maybe next time, we'll be watching and highlighting your top plays. This was BallaTW, and I'll see you in game.
What's up, everyone? Sundown here to bring you the latest installment of Plays of the Week. The final opportunity to qualify for the Fortnite Champion Series happened over the weekend, and a number of players were able to push their way to the top and make some spectacular plays. Let's dive in and see who popped off. Kicking off Plays of the Week, we'll start with Kurtz down in South America as he lets no targets get away and says, "Not today." Staying down in South America, we're on board here with Nothing No Name as he's able to pull off the hot feet flank and get the positional advantage to pick up a number of elims. Next, popping over to the Middle East, we have M. Siddig on the Tac Attack, going to work and eliminating the rest of the lobby. Now, normally we say jumping on over, but this time we mean it quite literally, as 72 hours does the leapfrog to pick up an insane elimination. Staying over in NA East, we have the world champion solo player Booga, well, dropping his opponents down a level or two. Now, over to Europe as we watch Fnatic Provoked get himself out of a tight situation and be the lone survivor to run the rest of the lobby. Sometimes in Fortnite, you need to innovate a little bit, and right now Jordan uses everything in his toolkit to pick up 2 quick elims. And finally, over in NA West, is it a bird? Is it a plane? No, it's Rex getting his high ground shot out and going for a last-ditch effort to get everything he can. That's it for the top plays from the qualifiers, and the stage has been set as we head into the finals this weekend. Make sure to tune in at Fortnite.com/watch or in client, and we'll see you guys on the battle bus. Beep, beep. Welcome back, everyone, and I will just apologize for everything that happened over the past 90 seconds. I have no idea what any of that was. When Zeke and I get together for too long, we get, kind of a little crazy. But one thing in our end, we were able to resolve some of the issues going through with the scheduled matchmaking. That means we will have Brazil games coming up here in a second. In particular, I just want to talk about this region. This region is near and dear to my heart. One, because I called King placing top 5 in the solo at the World Cup. I said, you could pencil him in. This kid is something special. He plays aggressively, and he's going to bring it to the big stage. He is my hardline prediction for the top spot with X-Zone and Toxic. I think they're going to be able to run through. But Brazil in particular, if you haven't watched the region before, they play very differently from the others. Again, we talk about discipline when it comes to the late game. They're good at that. However, the early and mid-game aggression that comes out when they know that they're going to have an advantage on their opponent is utterly ridiculous. We saw a little bit of it coming out from Middle East, but Brazil takes that to a whole nother level. If they see somebody even remotely separated, they will go. They will burn utility to get there and close out the fight, because their thinking is that is a point and we can scavenge anything from them in order to get onto what we need. And I really think it's going to be a good one. You can see there, our predictions are actually a little all over the place. This is one of the few regions where there wasn't really a hardline victor. I would say Brazil and Asia are the two where you've definitively had 5 to 10 teams who can really end up compete coming through. I mean, you can see, as I said, I had King, X-Zone, and Tox at the top. Zeke had Reds, Snow, Avalar, and Techno Viking. Showager picked Masteer, and then C9's Dracons and Blackouts. Monster D-Face had Nyx, D13, and Tuzu and Lupo picked Wishy, Kurtz, and Laleo. Now, one thing you'll notice from all of that, every single one of those teams either had a representative at the Fortnite World Cup in solos or duos, or they were right on the outside looking in both solos or duos. That would be the red squad right there. Techno Viking was one of the BR there. And now one thing I want to kind of talk about as we bring our casters back out is everyone kind of defending their prediction there. So I talked about why I think King is such a talented player in and of himself, and then being paired up with X-Zone, who had got to play on that stage, and then Toxic kind of complements them. But why did you think the red trio, Z?
Look, for me personally, we've seen the Red Trio quite a bit. We've seen Techno Viking off on his own with different types of dual partners, and then Avalar and Snow have always been paired together. Now the trio have come and been paired as, well, a trio. We've seen both of these as their separate duos almost make World Cup qualification on several different occasions, and Techno Viking was actually one placement away from making it in. So I think they've had enough time to kind of learn their strengths and weaknesses, and I think in their showing in week number 4, they led the pack by a significant amount. And I think because of that, they have the pieces, man. They just have to put it all together. It just has to be their weekend of Fortnite.
That's a good point there. Now, the reason I picked my trio specifically, I just wanted to kind of study who was being consistent over the weekends and not necessarily pick a top dog. I wanted to pick someone who's been in the running, been kind of in the question pool, right? Kind of there, but not quite first place. So it's kind of why I went with Nyx and those boys there. Just personally, just wanted to give someone else a small shout out.
Man, I'm a big fan of Nyx. Huge shout out to Nyx.
I mean, I'm a fan of the region. As I said, Brazil elevated themselves, getting some additional heat play going in there from the Rage, but the games are ready to go. Enough from me. We'll throw it on over to these 5 gentlemen as we go down under to South America and we begin their very first heat. Monster, Z, take it away, guys.
Let's do it, baby. It's time to hop into BR. I cannot wait. Well, Brazil, actually, let's be more specific. This is a dope region. We constantly see new things coming out of Brazil, new players that show up, but then we see a lot, like you said, Monster, a lot of consistencies. The C9, Dracons, Blackouts, Nyx, the Red Trio. There's so much talent, raw talent in Brazil, and this is for me another region that we just haven't quite seen their full potential, right? I think there could be some upsets coming out of Brazil this weekend.
Oh, without a doubt. This weekend's really going to shine the light on the region as a whole, and that's what we've been wanting for a while. The World Cup kind of series really took off for them, and we got to see some rising stars, but it really wasn't enough. This region as a whole now getting much more, recognition, and that is what we want to kind of just let unfold here and let that story speak for itself. But jumping into the game, we're looking at Snobby Shores area. We haven't quite seen much of today specifically. We have Choi, Hype, and Sitnoff here setting up for a battle. And there's a team here. And look at the way they landed. They landed right in the middle. The other squad is poised up just outside from both angles here, Zeke.
This is going to mean there's quite a bit of loot disparity for this trio that landed in this one house, right? Because top side, you got that one person in the solo house. All that loot is his. The duo below them, there's a little less loot in that abandoned house. But now they can kind of go for the pincer attack. So the guys in the middle, they just have to push, right? They have to say, we're going either north or we're going south. We just have to try and make something happen. I like
Zeke,
the Choi.
It's actually a 2v1 on both sides right here as both teams are collapsing on the players respectively. You can just see Hyped is in a battle of his own. Sitnoff and Choi have to get this exchange off here or it's going to spell trouble for them. Hype's already fell down. If they don't close this battle out soon, the other trio is going to rotate in really quickly.
They need to down this player now because they are starting their move. If you watch the minimap, we've already got this enemy trio. They're starting to close in. This other enemy just has to buy enough time. They're doing a great job of it as well, just keeping the builds away. We even hear a shockwave ring out, so they are closing in on Choi and Sitnoff. They will drop one of the players. Looks like okay, so they drop RDWA. Yeah, then the mats are going to be important, but again, there's not much in the way of the loot. Still with the infantry rifle, the attack is going to be what he relies on. Ooh, great pickup here in the tactical SMG. There's going to be quite a bit of burst damage here in the beginning of the game.
Oh boy, it's Emmerich who gets chipped off by Sitnoff right there, who's biding time, playing nice and patient, and now suddenly he can also see the toes right there. He can see Poseidon. Oh wait, he actually doesn't quite notice him just under that build right there, but Sitnoff gets the siphon off, so now he's got the health. Wait, is Sitnoff going to take the shot? He should be able to see it. There it is. He did miss, unfortunately. He tries to go for a quick peek there. A nice little ramp pivot. He's going to keep this player alive here. So Poseidon has to make a big move. If he doesn't, he's going to spell trouble here for himself. There it is. He's got to commit to this battle. Couldn't quite get the trade off there. And Choi, Sitnoff and Hype walk away victorious. But all because they got collapsed on. It was almost the end for them. That battle was kind of extended for a second there. They were building off. It wasn't looking like it was going to go in their favor for a second there.
Yeah, hopefully they can get Hyped card. That way they can try and play for a reboot, but it just depends on kind of what the rotation looks like. It might be unlikely depending on the situation they find themselves in later. Now take a look. They are pretty close to the next zone. So there is a possibility, but I don't know, man. It's not looking great.
No, they're fine. They're fine. Remember, everything is just getting kicked off here. So Sitnoff I think he used the shockwave to pick up that card. Now they're just getting their farm on before they move over to this reboot van here. And they actually have somewhat of a favorable zone here because the next zone is only pushing just east of them. So they'll be okay. You can see a little bit of a snippet there. They should be able to get this res off no problem, and that's going to wrap up this battle here in Snobby.
It's going to be pretty good for them. At least we hope so. But of course, as always, there's action happening all over the map. Up on Viking Village, we can see another trio here. So Cab was actually sitting on the mountain. If you're watching the minimap, he was actually looking down on them as that whole fight happened. He could have potentially gone for a heavy snipe, but they were on the back half of the Snobby houses, so there's like really not great line of sights for that. But I mean, his loadout's looking pretty good for this early game. And again, he's not that far from rotation. It looks like a little bit of a split drop there. So one of his trios, excuse me. Would you call, if you're talking about a trio and you're talking about one of the three, would you refer to the other two as the duo? Because then it just sounds weird. You get what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying. I struggle with it a little bit. Sometimes I do a little bit of both just to play it safe. But it does roll off really naturally, right? When you say his duos.
Yeah.
Because like those are like his.
But then I don't like to confuse people.
Duo,
These are the things that